sugar diet versus sugar fasting and the calories, do they matter? I was gonna make a video about this because I thought it would be a good topic, and I literally saw that Cole Snake Diet made a video explaining sugar diet versus sugar fasting. And if you're not familiar with the terms fasting, when they put sort of a macronutrient in front of it, like protein fasting, sugar fasting, which I honestly think that's almost a term that he coined at this point. Fat fasting, I've heard of it, but I don't even know how you would really do fat fasting, because what it is so say you do protein fasting, you eat only protein, but that doesn't mean that it's a fast because you're eating only protein. So you could eat like 3,000 calories of protein, it's still a fast. You're eating low calories and you're only eating one macronutrient, and trace amounts are very, very, very small amounts of the other. So if you do protein fasting, which is a different sort of term, it's protein sparing modified fast, which is kind of like you could go the sugar modified fast, but protein sparing modified fast, you would eat only protein, but you'd be at super low calories. And the purpose of that is to keep as much muscle and to lose as much body weight and body fat as possible. However, you're gonna not have any energy, especially if you're someone who's lean and you try it, you're not gonna have any energy, and it's gonna be hard to do for more than 2 weeks at a time. Now, if you're somebody who's overweight, you could definitely do that, and you could lose a vast amount of body fat in a short amount of time while maintaining a lot of muscle, but you're not gonna have any energy. So what sugar fasting is you're eating carbs, still pretty low calories. I don't know if it would be as low as protein sparing modified fast calories, which is around like 1,000 to 1,200 a day, and that's for a man. So it'd be even lower if you're a woman. So if you're doing carb fasting or sugar fasting, pretty much you're just eating straight sugar and no other macronutrients for the day, and your calories are going to be low on that alone. But I think with this, you'll have the energy, so your calories don't have to be as low, because you'll be more active and you'll have the ability to exercise with more power, do cardio for longer bouts, and do cardio with more power. With the sugar diet, having said that, I know Durian Rider says he doesn't work out anymore, but I think he's active in ways he doesn't realize. So if you ride your bike every day versus you sit down every day, that's a completely different lifestyle, completely different. If you're on your bike every day, or if you walk every day and you walk to the store every day, versus someone who sits down every day and you think you can just eat this bolus amount of carbs and lose weight, you can if you're super strict with it and you don't veer off, right? And you eat until satiety and it's a whole food diet, you'll 100% lose weight. But if you're trying to get super shredded and lose as much body fat as possible, you're going to have to do some sort of cardio. Now, you don't have to go crazy about it, but that's the good part about the sugar fasting, is you just eat the whole food sugars. I mean, this is apple pie filling, but there's no sugar added. And then I have a giant watermelon here I've just been scraping at, trying to get at the sides of it. I'm the only one who eats watermelon, so I can just do what I want with it. But yeah, so that's sort of where calories come into play. And I probably should have mentioned that before. So if you're going to eat on the sugar diet, don't count your calories. Just transition over to the whole foods. Whole food fruit, wet fruit, apples, bananas, watermelon, peaches, pears. I mean, whatever fruit you like. I think that's the most important part about starting any diet, for that matter, is that you have to be strict, because you're switching sort of like from just whatever's on the table, I'll take this, I'll eat that, and you're not really cognizant of what you're eating. So when you switch over to a diet, albeit if it's carnivore, or if it's this, or if it's some sort of keto, find the foods that you like within that diet and keep you full, and eat those. And I would just do that until a point where you stall and you stop losing body fat or body weight, which could take a couple of months, could take a couple of weeks. It depends on how heavy you are right now and your activity level. But if you don't have any dieting experience, 100% do that first. Choose, foods within that diet, right? Because that's the whole thing. You're switching from standard American diet, which is, you know, cookies here, Twinkies, cheeseburger for lunch, maybe a pizza for dinner, Chipotle, you know, here and there, McDonald's, whatever, to a more, okay, I'm gonna eat till I feel good, till I feel satisfied, and I don't want to crave any of that other sort of junk food, which would be fast food or high fattening food, foods that are high in macronutrient of fat. So take, you know, whatever. Like for me, it took me a little bit because potatoes, and I know they talk about starch keeping weight on you. I like potatoes, but I don't want to eat them all the time. I want to eat, you know, season's coming up. I like watermelon, apples. I eat apples. I could eat them all day. Bananas, I'm not a big fan of bananas. Like I bought some the other day. I had one. I had another one, and they kind of sit there and they get too old, and then they're not as good. And you know, I just don't like them. So for me, I really have a few foods, which is year round would be apples. Watermelon's a little bit harder. Pears, I like pears, but it really depends on where I get them, and I don't really have the pears around here aren't that good. Pineapple, but pineapple's kind of in between. I'm not sure. So once you find that staple of food that you like, that's what you would do with your diet, and you have to make sure that it keeps you satisfied, right? That's why when people count calories in their diet and they're like, well, if I just count calories, I'll be fine, and I'll just do Lucky Charms and milk and a cheeseburger, and that's it. And maybe that's 2,000 calories. So maybe you have 3 or 4 bowls of Lucky Charms for breakfast with milk. You know, that might be 600, 800 calories, because if you're not counting or weighing it, you could easily get there with cereal, and especially with milk, depending on how high in calorie the milk is. If it's whole milk or even chocolate milk, oh God, the Sam Solik diet. Yeah, and then you say, oh, I'm just gonna skip lunch. I'm gonna do that intermittent fasting. I'm gonna skip lunch, and then for dinner I'll have a cheeseburger and I'll do fine. That might work for a week, but you are gonna feel like crap and you're gonna starve. You're gonna starve. And that's why people fail with counting calories, is because it's much more nuanced than that. It's, you have to find, to put it simply, if you want to have the easiest diet, you do it with whole foods, and you find the whole foods you enjoy eating. That's the simplest way to put it. So if you're like, I'm going to do this sugar diet, it's gaining traction, find the whole foods that fit within the sugar diet parameter, which would mainly be an all carb, zero fat, a little bit of protein, fruit or vegetable. Eat those as much as you feel satisfied, and then watch your scale. And if your scale keeps dropping and dropping, don't even worry about it. Just keep doing what you're doing. And then when you stall for 2 weeks, you don't notice anything, then you need to switch things up. And I'll make another video on recalibrating what you need to do, but I'm sure if you watch Cole or Mark Bell, they'll be reiterating the same thing. And I've seen a ton of people out there who are making videos on the sugar diet, who've had success with it versus you know, other diets or other lifestyles they weren't able to maintain to. Protein. This is the thing with protein, because I sort of did the sugar diet 2 years ago without even realizing it, but it was sort of like carb cycling with extreme, I'm not really extreme, but with fasting days where I wouldn't eat anything. And I got the most lean I had ever been. I still haven't been able to touch that. I basically would eat 10, 12,000 calories in one day, and then I would fast for 2 days, close to 2 days, and I would not gain fat, and I would lose fat until a point where I bottomed off, and I got super lean. With that though, the fasting, when you fast for so long and you sort of put yourself in that cycle, it can mess you up, because you sort of become obsessed with eating, because you get at that one point where you're like, all right, I haven't eaten for 2 days, now I get to eat, and I can just jump in and eat all this food. And really, I think it's stupid. I think it's stupid. Just doing the sugar diet, eating until you feel good, and losing weight that way is better. I don't really think you need to fast, but I do think it's a good tool to use if you want to fast for like a day and a half, something like that. I don't think fasting it for anything longer than that's necessary. I really just think it's stupid. You might as well just do sugar fasting, eat, and like I said, you don't have to measure, but you'd eat anywhere between probably 1,500, 2,500 calories of carbs, and then you'd have the cardio to put through with that. Um, but when I did it, it was pretty much as much body fat I could lose as possible, and it worked. But it's just stupid long term. I don't think it's anything that somebody should do. Um, but with that, the protein, I was only eating protein. I would have protein like one day, and then I'd go 2 days without protein. I didn't lose any muscle. I looked bigger than I looked bigger then, and I was leaner then, and I worked out less. Maybe I need to work out less. Um, my workouts were quick. It was 2 or 3 times a week, couple exercises, high intensity, and I was leaner and bigger. My profile picture on YouTube is when I was pretty much that lean. Of course, I have hair all over my chest, so you can't really see it, but I had veins in my chest, veins across the sides of my abs. Um, and yeah, I was just super lean from doing that, which is pretty much the same thing as sugar fasting. I just took it to a stupid level where I'd eat all my sugar in one day, and then I wouldn't eat any sugar for 2 days or anything for 2 days. But I don't think that's necessary. Carnivore. Somebody was commenting about glycation, and I'm not super big on scientific diet knowledge and everything like that. It's important for sure for people who have any sort of disease metabolically or something like that, where they would need to speak with like a dietitian or go over their lifestyle with a dietitian. I'm not that person at all. I don't have that knowledge. I just know if you want to lose weight, you have to be in a caloric deficit. And I think the simplicity of that is why it works for me. But people try to make it more complicated than being in a caloric deficit, and it's not. It's really you don't eat it. You don't eat anything, or you eat less, and you eat whole foods without realizing it. You're still in a caloric deficit. People don't seem to fathom that, but if you're losing weight, by definition, you're in a caloric deficit. Um, but having said that, I don't think carnivore is a bad diet if you can stick to it. I think I was talking about that with the person. When I tried carnivore, I liked it, but I didn't like it that much where I was like, I can do this long term. I had to find foods that I wanted to eat, and there's like people do. I mean, if you're doing carnivore, you're mainly doing like beef and steak and like that. Ground beef's fine, but I could not eat it every day. Steak's fine, I could not eat it every day. I don't even want it like at once a week. If I go out to dinner, I'm 100% gonna have meat or something like that for sure. But at home, it's like, man, I don't want to. I don't know. I just don't want it every day. I was able to do eggs and bacon though every day, but that kind of got to a point where I don't know. I just didn't feel that great on it. So I mean, I was able to do eggs and bacon, but the adherence to it was crap. So I was able to stick to it for close to a month. I lost a ton of body weight, which was water weight, and then I lost fat for sure because I was eating in a big caloric deficit without even realizing it. And I kind of messed myself up because I started worrying about how much protein I was getting. So I started like adding in protein powder, which was stupid. I don't think that's necessary. If you're on the carnivore diet, I don't think there's any reason at all to put yourself to worry about protein at all, ever. Don't even worry about it. But saying that, if it's carnivore diet, if it's a sugar diet, if it's a keto diet, if you're vegan, vegetarian, standard American diet, which I mean, you're just playing hard. You're playing this game on the hardest level if you're trying to lose body fat on a standard American diet. You have to have adherence to it, and that's the point I made. Is like I know for a fact carnivore works. You see these pictures of people online losing vast amounts of weight, it 100% works. I just think people need a little bit more help when they lose weight, because if they want to continue losing weight, it's not just, oh, I just keep eating the same thing. You got to change it up a little bit. And if you can adhere to the carnivore diet, stick to it. I don't think there's any reason to switch off of it. But if you feel terrible or you feel like, man, this isn't working the way it used to, I'm stalled out, then switch. There's no point in staying with the same diet, especially if you don't like it and you can't adhere to it. I didn't dislike it, I just didn't like it enough to stick with it. I mean, like I wanted this, I wanted watermelon, and like the thing with the carnivore, they try to make it like bad. If you eat that, like you're gonna die. And I felt the best when I ate truly Lucky Charms and cereal with milk and high carb without realizing it. That's when I felt the best. So key takeaways: sugar diet versus sugar fasting. Sugar diet is simply you're eating a high carb diet with low protein, super low fat, almost nuke to the ground. Calories, don't even worry about them until you get to a certain level where you're pretty lean. I wouldn't even worry about, I wouldn't even think about calories. Protein, I wouldn't think about that either. Just have it a couple times a week. Don't worry about it. A couple times a week, whatever type of protein you want, but try to keep it low in fat. For me, that's protein powders. You can do chicken breast, turkey. Just keep it lean so you don't have that fat in there. Fasting and carbs, no point in doing fasting. Just do the sugar diet, or just do sugar fasting where you're gonna maybe just, if you're gonna do sugar fasting for that day, you just eat one type of food. So you just eat watermelon for that day. So you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna eat watermelon for today. It's a sugar fast day. That's all I'm gonna do. That I should have said that earlier. That's important. So yeah, if you're gonna do sugar fasting for one day to keep it simple and you don't have to worry about it, buy one type of fruit, one type of vegetable, and just eat that for the day. It'd probably be easier to do with fruit because I'm sure you get sick of eating a vegetable all day. And then carnivore and diets in general, if you can't adhere to it, no matter what the diet is, it's stupid. There's no point. You're not going to make progress with it, and you might as well do a diet that you can adhere to see long-term progress. So interested to see all the videos. I know a guy was commenting on here. He's going to start his own channel. Progress is what we want to see for everybody, and when we make that progress, we just grow and we get people to where they need to be and be in a better part of their life. So thank you.